All right, there he is. He is the three-piece to my soda, the one and only Danny Segura. All right, Danny, I am told by you that there was a quote, and I'm not, tell me if I'm making this up, a record number of calls.
Yes, it was insane.
Now, what is your theory about why there were so many?
3% in the sodas.
Yeah. I guess, people love it. People love it. If you steal on someone in the face and then you have funny things to say about it, that's the ultimate 1-2 combo.
And the best thing is how laid back he is. He's got a tracksuit, full piece on. He's got the beanie. He's just sitting there slouching, and he's so calm about how he goes about things.
He has, the tracksuit with the beanie.
Yes.
And the beanie's half on, like the top looks like the reservoir tip of a condom. He's just kind of out there chilling, Like couldn't have a care in the world.
Yeah. Man, that guy's a treasure. They should promote him, man.
I've been saying for a while he's been this way, Yeah. And by the way, it's not something to laugh at. It's a good thing. He's bilingual. Yes. You know this as well. If they have plans for Latin America, Jorge Masvidal could be featured at the front of some of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%. Even not even South America, just Miami. Have an event in Miami, because I know they're having an event in South Florida. It's Sunrise. It's not the same thing, though. Have an event in Miami, Yoel Romero headlining, you can easily put Jorge Masvidal on the co-main event, and he'll fill that arena up.
Yeah, two Cubanos there.
For sure, yeah. All right, well, let's start off with a little bit of a positive note. I think there's a lot of negativity in the world nowadays, and we got a positive call, so it's not really a question, but just wanted to set the tone for this segment.
What's up, Luke? This is Jet Unico from Los Angeles. I just want to tell you thank you so much for your fight breakdowns that make the treadmill so much easier and cooler. Your breakdowns are epic. It's cool to see you coming into your own, even with a sense of humor, talking a little bit of mess. And I just want to say I really appreciate what you're doing. You're killing it. And I look forward to all the content that you're creating. And I'll always let those whack commercials run just in hopes that it generates a little bit of revenue for you guys. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Wow, he left a message just to say that?
Just to say that. Hey, shout out to Jet Ulico from LA. Thanks for listening.
What a nice message. I was going to go put a bullet in my mouth after the show, but now I feel so much better.
All right.
you like my uncomfortable jokes? No, that's a really nice message.
Man.
That's a really, really nice message. So.
Yeah, it's nice, man. And it's really nice when, fans say nice things, because like on Twitter and social media is just a ball of negativity. Everyone has something negative to say. Everybody always criticizing everybody. Let's just be nice to each other, man. It'll make the world, a lot better.
That honestly was very, 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 very nice. I really thank you so much for watching, of course, and for taking the dude. Here's the thing: it's very easy to be negative. As someone who is negative, I can tell you that when someone does something positive, you actually have to go out of your way to do that. If you think about it, like to send a note to someone to say thanks, to hold a door open. It's something super small for like an old lady or something. You have to like do something to be positive. It's just you can just be naturally negative,
Yeah. That's also one of the reasons why, it's a side note, but I don't really pay too much attention to reviews. Don't put too much stock in them, because I feel like people that like the product, don't take the time to, write a review about something nice. It's just, this is a good product, and they keep buying it and go along the way. And the people that write reviews are the people that didn't like it and, go on there to sort of vent.
I'm the kind of person who writes reviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I've written like 2 reviews.
I mean, I don't actually write reviews, but I'm that kind of a person.
Okay. All right, well, let's get started with the questions. First up, Jorge Masvidal, a big weekend for him. 2 wins in a row.
Hey, this is Michael Oviedo. I'm calling from Minot, North Dakota. What's up, Luke Thomas and Danny Segura? I was just wondering, we saw Masvidal land a vicious KO.
Not many
on
Cubans
Darren Till.
in North Dakota.
What is next for Masvidal? I heard Kamaru Usman's manager say that he thinks Masvidal deserves the next shot. What do you guys think? Thank you.
Yeah, there's the thing. I mentioned this briefly before. I really have a ton of respect for Jorge Masvidal, but I just don't know about the title shot thing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Dude, here's the thing, man. Ben Askren's sitting at 6 now, and you've got Masvidal at 11. Edwards is at 10. Here's the thing I was trying to tell, or I was going to tell Jorge. It's like, dude, you completely blew up Leon's profile. Like, you can't steal on a guy in the face, do media about it, and then be like, okay, well, he's behind me in the pack. Well, he might be. I mean, depending on how things shake out, because he beat the number 3 guy, so he's probably going to leapfrog him at this point. But, dude, you completely blew up his profile. Like,
you just created a story.
That's the fight now everybody's going to want to see. So it's like, I completely understand why he did it that way. And he also noted in the interview that he didn't realize the cameras were going to follow him when he walked away. He thought they were just going to stay on a static shot. So he thought he was just going to sneak over and give him the old the 3-piece, and then that was going to be it. But you could do Ben Askren. You could do, I don't know, Dos Anjos, somebody. There's got to be this. I really respect Jorge, but that's just not enough for a title shot. It's just not.
I mean, yeah, the guy got a super impressive win, beating Darren Till. You know, it's no easy task, especially going into his hometown, everything that, you know, that comes with that. But nonetheless, you know, the guy was on a 2-fight losing streak before that. You know, he just got a win. You got an interim champ that's on quite a streak with, obviously, in Colby Covington. I think that's the fight to make as far as the title goes. And, you know, for Masvidal, give him another fight. I wouldn't mind him being in a title eliminator opportunity, whether that's with Ben Askren or, look, even the Leon Edwards fight. I'd like to see that at some point. There's already a storyline, you know, build up here, you know?
For sure.
And I floated this idea before the whole 3-piece with the soda. But I wouldn't mind seeing Jorge Masvidal face Mr. Robbie Lawler. I know Lawler trained at ATT, so I don't know what their relationship is, if they're friends or not, if they'll fight each other. But, you know, if they're cool with fighting each other, I think that's a great fight. And I think Lawler, although coming off a loss, I think, you know, it was controversial enough where his stock didn't drop, and he still has a name. So I feel like it'll be, you know, it won't be a step back for Jorge Masvidal. What do you think about that?
I'm when people think about fights to make, one of my weaknesses, actually, I'm not really good at these, to be candid with you. People often have very specific interests in mind. Like, oh, I want to see this permutation. And I sometimes get that, right? Or like in a really big case, wow, you really want to see Conor Nate 3, right? That's one like you just want to see. But to be honest, for most of these elite fighters, I don't really have too much of a specific inclination. He could fight Askren as far as I'm concerned. Dude, he could fight Covington as far. I mean, I knew he's not going to, but sure, your suggestion doesn't ring any bad bells with me. Yeah, fine, great.
I'm the opposite. As soon as the fight is over, my brain starts ticking.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I think I was a matchmaker at some point. I've always been in my previous life.
It's one of the reasons why I don't do like breaking news about who's going to fight who next.
Yeah,
I never found it that interesting. I realize that the rest of the public does.
Yeah,
right. Because look at the numbers. Like, you break news, X is going to fight Y. Kaboom.
Yeah,
you're like that. Most people are like that. For some reason, I'm not quite. Again, if Mayweather's going to fight McGregor, I'm like that, okay? But generally speaking, I'm just like, okay, cool, next permutation. Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. All right, well, let's take a look at the other side of that equation. Mr. Darren Till.
Okay.
What's next for him?
Hey, Luke, it's Tanner from Colorado. Just wondering what your perspective is on Darren Till and what he should do next. After a vicious knockout like that, I'm not really sure what's left for him at 170. Maybe a Robbie Lawler fight, but I don't know. But then I look at the 185-pound rankings, and it doesn't look pretty for the top 15 for as far as the matchup for him. So I'm just curious, what do you think he should do next? Should he take some time off? Should, how do young guys get over something as devastating as move forward? Alrighty, next.
Well, to be clear, I don't coach fighters, so I'm in no position to tell fighters how they should or shouldn't get over losses in terms of how they emotionally approach the game, Danny, but this is a really easy answer. You need to go to 185, okay? There's not life for you right now at welterweight. He's very young, and he's very talented. He got a little bit ahead of himself with some of those wins and the hype, to which I and other media members are probably partly responsible, so I'll jump on that grenade a little bit. But the reality is, after losing to Woodley, okay, not a big deal, but you didn't land a punch, and you were very competitive with Jorge Masvidal until you got viciously KO'd. But as you saw in the Monday Morning Analyst, that left was landing over and over and over. And I just feel like some of his style of defense with the lean and everything, there is some seasoning. So when you look at the top 15 or whatever it is at middleweight, you might say, well, who's he going to fight there? Guys, he doesn't have to fight anyone in the top 15. He needs reps, right? He still has the potential for greatness. He was competitive with Jorge. He dropped Jorge Masvidal in the first round. Let's not forget that, okay? And took him down, I think, once. In any event, so I would say go to middleweight, because there's a question here about how much the punching power of Masvidal was affected by the weight cut of Till. We've seen it. Guys cut a bunch of weight. They can't take shots like they normally can. Now, Jorge is not some kind of puny hitter. I'm just saying that's something you have to consider. Go to middleweight and start a life there. Figure it out. Get better. To close, I have done it before, and I've made the mistake. Guys, learn from my mistakes. Do not count fighters out who are in a bad spot. By the way, it's often the case that the up-and-coming contender when they lose to the champ, they often lose their next fight. Look at Volkan Oezdemir. He's lost 2 since then.
That's true.
Happens all the time. So what I'm saying is don't underplay things. Some changes are in order. But don't overplay things. The sky is falling. It's not. Make some helpful changes. Start a new life. Get some seasoning, and you'll be great.
Yeah, I would love for him to go up to 185. I know this is an idea he's kind of teased with. But look, even if it's not like a permanent home, like at the end of the day, success, a lot of success comes after experimentation, right? Like if you're just constantly trying the same thing over and over, you know, it's hard to find success there, right? If you're trying different things, then maybe you can see what works, what doesn't, and that way you can start, you know, through the process of elimination, you can find what works for you. Look, you don't have to commit to 185. Go up and see what happens. Just have one fight. See how your body feels. See how the weight cut goes.
That's right.
See how your skills translate. See how, you know, the size and all that comes into play. Look, 170 might have to be his home. I remember a long time ago, I was saying, yo, Jose Aldo needs to go up to 155. Jose Aldo needs to go 155. He's too big for 145. Because remember, there was that video that came out where he was like crying during his weight cut, and like it was for the Mark Hominick fight. At some point, things look pretty scary. But look. Yeah. And he was already in an older stage too, you know? He regrouped, he figured things out, and dude, he's never missed weight, and he's always looked good in his performances at 145 ever since.
I would say, I would add to that, you know, Anthony Rocco Martin told me something last week that really stuck with me. I asked him, how much weight do you cut to get to 155? He's 170 now, but how did you, he goes, from 195. And I said, Jesus Christ, man. Like, weight. Yeah, it's not unheard of, but that's really a ton of weight. Here's what he told me. He told me he cut that much weight because he wasn't confident that he could win without the size advantage. And he said, now that I'm confident in my skills, I don't need the size advantage. I'm fine at welterweight. Now, I don't know what Darren Till's situation is. Yeah. But when you've got a young guy who's very confident but still developing his game, I wonder how much he's telling himself that size advantage is an ingredient for success. Yeah. Because I bet it's not nearly as true as he's telling himself it is. I bet he would be much better at middleweight. At least, to your point, kick the tires on it.
Yeah, just see what happens. And I think this is when the UFC has to come into play and kind of give him a hand there. Like, look, this guy is an exciting prospect. You know, he has an exciting style. Outside of the cage, he's also a very interesting character, a guy we can promote. You know, let's give him, I'm not saying an easy fight because there's no such thing as an easy fight in the UFC, but let's give him, you know, not a top 10, not a top, 5. Let's give him a top 15, maybe a little bit outside of that and see how he fares, you know, and kind of, help him, build his skills up. Now, if he does decide to stay at welterweight, I wouldn't be super opposed to it because he did make the weight for this fight. In that case, I think a Mike Perry fight would be awesome. I think there's something there. We kind of teased that fight for a little bit, and I think, it's enough of a step down from the very elite, right? To kind of, give him an opportunity to bounce back.
Fair.
All right. Now, let's switch gears and go up a few weight classes. This was actually a very interesting point, a very interesting question that this caller brought up.
Hey, this is Miranda from Lansing, Michigan. I have a two-part here. The first is in regard to the segment that Luke did on Second Acts being exclusive to the heavyweight division.
Not exclusive.
Do you think that the lack of weight cutting holds any significance to its exclusivity? And the second one I had is that I'll be attending UFC 238 in Chicago, and I'm interested in what you guys think the main event will be. My inkling is the rematch between Henry and TJ. Let me know what you think.
Interesting.
Thanks.
Well, first of all, very smart call. Yeah. Number one. Number two, I don't know what I said back on the show. I have to go back and listen to it, but my radio show I do afterwards, obviously. On that, I made the point on the air. Folks have hit me up since then. The second acts are not exclusive to heavyweight.
Right, but you did say that. Yeah, exactly. There.
So, for example, you've seen Cerrone go from lightweight to welterweight, then back to light, and every time there's like this reinvention. You can do it that way. Knock, knock for Darren Till. Like, then we'll see what happens with Luke Rockhold up at 205, right? So, no, it's not exclusive to him. So, yes, the weight cut is a function there. To the second part of the question, I don't know what they have planned for 238, but I've heard some rumblings. That's a very good guess.
I think so, too.
And it just seems like they're committed to resolving whatever happened in Brooklyn. So, here we are again.
Yeah. I think that's a very good guess. Right now, the co-main event for that, or what we think the co-main event, is going to be a title fight between Shevchenko and Jessica Ai. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put in, Cejudo versus Dillashaw in that one. I think
Which is so funny. It's like both guys have nothing to do with Chicago. Now, Shevchenko a little bit, given some of the native populations there. But isn't that weird? It's like, we're just going to go to Chicago and we're going to put in 2 guys from Southern California. Hey, Chicago, enjoy.
I feel like I feel like you can't always get the regional thing every time, you can
if it's a priority. Boxing promoters never fail on that.
That's true, yeah. But I mean, when you got a schedule to roll.
That's exactly right. When they're like, all right, we got 50 dates this year, we got a blah, blah, blah. There's just no way to properly coordinate that.
Yeah, for sure. Also, there are some fighters that I feel like there's a stronger case to put them in their hometown. Like, I feel like, for example, like a John Jones or a Brock Lesnar, like they can fight anywhere. They'll make big numbers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of like the same. I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to have them in California, but I feel like it's fine.
What they do is they get these headliners that, that fights that need to be made, what fans want to pay for, keep them in rotation. And then what UFC typically does now is they'll find as many Chicago-based fighters to fill the rest of the card.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you get that by default, but there really is no substitute for a hometown hero and a homecoming.
For sure.
I've been to if you've never been to a fight where a guy is or a lady is truly embraced by their hometown, it's a different feel, man.
I mean, look at Darren Till walking out,
Yeah. And that was London. That wasn't even Liverpool.
Exactly. That felt big, felt different. I was at what was it, like UFC on FX 23 or something like that, when Chris Weidman fought Kelvin Gastelum in Long Island.
Yeah.
Dude, at the arena, like, you definitely get a different sense than you do watching at home. Like, when Chris Weidman walked out, like, all these Long Island guys were walking out, and it just felt, felt big, man.
Yeah.
It felt nice.
People, the game is built off that. I mean, look, it'll do well. Chicago's a great market for the UFC. I just always find it kind of funny. It's like Dominick Cruz fought TJ Dillashaw in Boston. It's like, all right, I guess we're going to go to Boston now.
Yeah. Yeah, but, I think this caller brings up an interesting point about the weight cut, man. There should be a study on that. I'd like to see fighters that, are in the lower weight classes that don't cut weight and, track their longevity in the sport versus fighters that are known to cut a lot of weight.
But yeah, the one that I was stuck with was when I spoke to Chris Lieben maybe a year or two after he retired, and I asked him what he was doing to combat some of the rigors of the game. He goes, well, I have to take medication the rest of my life because I wrecked my endocrine system from weight cutting. The hormones are no longer properly regulated in the body.
We work in the media. You sometimes hear things that obviously you can't report on because it's things you hear, it's rumors, things that are not true. But like, dude, how many times does a fighter, make a crazy weight cut and you hear like, yo, they weren't really the same after, or like they had to take, a few months to recover from that. Weight cuts are.
How about this? I spoke to Thiago Alves recently. You know what he told me? Before he fought St. Pierre, he was passing out almost every day.
Yeah. I remember that.
Is that not? It's just what? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy.
It's insane. All right. Now let's keep the UK theme going on.
All right.
Talk about somebody that just got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Won't be Theresa May.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Zach from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Looks like Michael Bisping's going to get inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. I was just wondering what your favorite moments of his inside and outside of the octagon are.
Wow.
Thanks, guys. Let me know.
Boy, that's a good one.
Very good one.
Why don't you go first on that one?
All right. In cage, I think, man, there's so many.
There's a bunch.
I have this is maybe not my favorite moment, but this is something that for some reason it always stuck with me when he fought Dennis Kang. He got dropped by Dennis Kang, I think, in the first round.
That was after the Dan Henderson knockout.
Yeah. And I remember he went back to his corner, super chill, and he asked him, yo, what happened? He had no recollection of him getting dropped, and they were just like, yo, you got dropped. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he went out there and destroyed, in rounds 2 and 3, I believe. So, that was a pretty cool moment of his. But I think his highlight has to be, the upset over Luke Rockhold. I think nobody expected that comeback, that career
That's
comeback.
why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. And when he won that, you're like, oh my God, dude, this guy just never let go of his dream, man. He is the, epitome of persistence and just grind. And, I think that will forever, cement his career and sort of, put him up there. And outside of the cage, this might be kind of underrated, but I always enjoyed his stare downs at the weigh-ins, man. The whole finger thing that he does, and he gets in the face, like it always gets you hyped up. Like, okay, man, this is a fight. So
yeah,
he has tons of moments.
So for me, I mean, the best moment is easily when he put the punch on Rockhold. I mean, there's There's no
Against
close
all
second.
odds.
Although knocking Jason Day out with the knees and the way he did was pretty epic as well.
Yeah.
You know what? It shouldn't define him, and it's not going to. But one of my most and least favorite episodes in his life, do you remember when he spat on the corner of Jorge Rivera?
Yep.
That was really despicable in certain ways. And in other ways, I was kind of like, I get it, you know? I really get it. Like, he is one of these guys who, dude, he fights with emotion and passion. And again, maybe here's the thing that people don't want to admit. Some of my favorite moments in life as a sports fan are when there was bad conduct on the field of play, right? You know, when Sean Taylor blew up that kicker, I forget his name now, at the Pro Bowl. It's like, Sean Taylor, why are you blowing up kickers at the Pro Bowl? Because, bro, that's just who he was, you know? When certain guys fought, you know, when somebody charged the mound after being hit by a pitch, why? You shouldn't charge the mound, but that's just who he is, bro. Or pick another, you know, pick any other sport that you like where somebody just had unsportsmanlike conduct. We had Ronaldo doing the cojones thing to Simeone recently, right? It's the same. Like,
Don't remind me.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm having
okay, whatever.
Experience.
But the point being is, should they be doing things like that? Of course not. But sometimes do they let you into a window of the psychotic competitor that they are? So I'm not praising Michael Bisping for spitting on someone's corner. What I am going to say is, dude, he was a psychotic competitor. And he was good at media, and he was good at all the things, you know, getting the fans into it or antagonizing his opponents. But he also lived and breathed and died with this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was unsportsmanlike, but I don't know. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, that was not an act. You know, in this day and age where, like, people put on acts because they want to be
exactly
outside of the
right.
media.
Yes.
Dude, he was 100% himself his entire career. Never changed. All right.
By the way,
yeah.
One of my favorite moments. Do you watch NBA at all?
No, not really.
Do you know what the Malice in the Palace is?
No idea.
Do you remember back
Sounds
in
cool.
2004? Yeah, exactly. You remember back in it was a huge black eye on the NBA.
Oh, was it the
when Ron Artest jumped into the audience?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
bro. When Ron Artest, now known as Meta World Peace, he thought he got hit by a water bottle. He wrongly identified the guy. Dude, when you see this giant man run into the audience, it just reminded me of all those times when people talk shit on Twitter and then real life smacks them in the face quite literally, and they get real quiet real fast. That's what, dude, the Malice in the Palace is literally one of my favorite sports events.
What year was that in?
2004. I was bouncing.
I was still in Colombia.
Dude, I was bouncing in New York City at the time, and it was so cold outside. And I remember looking into the place where I was bouncing. They had the TV on, and everyone was rushing in there. I thought there was a fight inside in the bar. So I go inside the bar, and everyone was just looking at the TV because it was mayhem. It was complete mayhem. And, yeah, it's one of my favorite. Some unsportsmanlike conduct is fun. Sorry, it's fun. There we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, congrats to Michael Bisping for,
of course.
for getting into the UFC Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Let's talk about another gentleman that didn't fight at UFC London, but was definitely made his presence known.
Hey, Luke, this is Jimbo from Alabama. Hope you're doing well. I want to see if you put your matchmaker hat on for a minute.
All right there, Jimbo.
Askren if you were Dana White. Jorge Masvidal and Leon Edwards seem to be tied up. He ain't going to fight Tyron Woodley, and Colby Covington seems next in line for Kamaru Usman. Just wanted to see what you think you would do with him next. There's RDAs floating around out there, I guess, but I don't know. Just want to see what you do with him. Seems to be building up enough hype for himself that people want to see him get in there. Anyway, have a good afternoon. Roll Tide.
I knew he was going to do that. Roll damn Tide. We got no room for the War Eagle over here. Roll damn Tide. How many Europeans are watching this not knowing what Roll Tide is?
No idea. But we got several European callers. So.
I know. Roll Tide. If you're from Europe, just Google Roll Tide versus War Eagle, and that will explain it. I knew he. That's the guy that poisoned the tree at Auburn. That's the guy. Roll damn Tide. What did he ask about Ben Askren?
What to do with Ben Askren, man?
You could do the Masvidal fight.
Yeah. You
could do, I think he really wanted the Till fight because that would have been two big mouths and big personalities going after each other. But I guess Masvidal's one. You could do Leon Edwards against him. You could do the Lawler rematch, which I don't think that they're really clamoring to do. Ponzinibbio's kind of floating out there. RDA's kind of floating out there. There's a few different directions you could go. Which one do you like the most?
You know what? I have no strong opinion on this yet because I'm waiting for Ben Askren's goals or like what is he doing in this division? Because he hasn't made his goals clear. And I feel like he could be much in a position like Jose Aldo where he could be a detriment to the division if, he doesn't align his goals properly. And I love Ben Askren. I think, he's great for the sport, and I'm glad that he's in the UFC. But look, he's made it clear that he's not going to fight Tyron Woodley, right? And Tyron Woodley just lost his belt, and there's like a weird kind of sense in the air. Like, look, I don't know if I'm going to fight for the belt because I don't know where Tyron is right now. I don't know if he's going to get an immediate rematch or if he wants to win one and then they'll plug him back in. I think when he decides what he wants to do, then I can start, doing matchmaking in my head. Because, for example, like if you're just going to let Tyron, rule that division and get, let him get a second crack, any contender that he's going to fight, if he wins, is just going to be bad for the division. Because, you're eliminating contenders, but yet you're not going to take the opportunity to go fight for the belt because your friend might take that opportunity. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So if he were to say, look, my goal is to fight for the title and this is what I'm doing, okay, no problem. Put him up against Jorge Masvidal, #1 contender, and then the winner takes on, the winner of Colby Usman. But if you're not in that state, I kind of don't want to see you fight Jorge Masvidal because I think Jorge Masvidal is an interesting character, very skilled fighter, and I don't want to have an opportunity where a contender gets eliminated, but then not another contender is created. You know what I'm saying? So if you're just in it for fun fights, go fight Damian Maia. That'll be interesting. Robbie Lawler. There's very interesting options out there. But if your goal is the belt, yeah, go fight Masvidal. Go fight these guys that are at the top.
Agree?
Right? Very much like Jose Aldo. That's why I don't like the Volkanovski matchup, by the way. Just throwing that out there. It's just like, dude, you fought Max Holloway twice. If you're at this point, if you just want to do fun fights, don't ruin contenders. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, he wants a shot at that belt one more time. By the way, with Max moving up, who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I guess that does open up.
That changes things a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. All right. Let's see. You want to talk about Darren Till as a prospect? You want to talk about Conor McGregor? What's next?
Let's do McGregor. We haven't talked about him at all.
Okay, let's do it.
Hi, this is Joseph Mossman calling from Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted to know what you guys thought about who Conor should fight next. I know that Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier are fighting in Atlanta. Just wanted to see your thoughts if you thought that might be a good option next.
I don't know. All right, so let's think about this. Tony's probably going to be in ice for a little while. Khabib's not back till whenever. I don't think Conor's legal troubles will really impact his ability to get a license and fight.
It was a phone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. Did you see him, by the way, doing all the victory laps out there?
I did, yeah, celebrating St. Patty's. Oh, wait, so this is an interesting
By the way,
note.
hold on. Wait, time out. The Irish have berated me for what you just did. So here's the deal. It's either St. Patrick's Day or Paddy's Day. What it's not is St. Patty's Day.
Okay, my bad.
No.
St. Patrick's.
I did it wrong. Dude, I've been in America for 40 years. I've done it wrong. So, but apparently that's a sacred thing, okay? I didn't know that. So it's St. Patrick's Day, excuse me.
St. Patrick's Day, all right. Well, in that parade that he was in, he said they're talking about July, right? Mm-hmm. I think the winner of Poirier, Holloway's too quick of a turnaround, right?
Possibly. Depends.
It depends how that fight goes, of course. But, dude, I expect that fight to be a war.
Yeah.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really like the Cowboy fight, man. But if they're not going to make that happen, something I'd like to see is the Nate Diaz trilogy. I'm a little sick of the Twitter back and forth between those guys. It's dragged out a bit. It's been going on for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it's boring.
At this point, it's like, either fight or don't fight, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'd love to see that, trilogy get put to an end and then have Nate Diaz go on his way and Conor McGregor go on his way.
Yeah.
So I think that could be fun.
Yeah, again, I told you how I feel about matchmaking before. Unless they matched him up with somebody I'd never heard of, I'd probably kind of get it. But you can get the winner of those two guys and Holloway and Poirier if you want to wait. If they're going to really push him along, I guess you could do who's Gaethje fighting coming up? Barboza, yeah. You could maybe get the winner of that. Yeah, you could maybe get the winner of that. Pettis, if he wants to go back down to 155, you could do.
That's why I don't like the Thompson fight.
Yeah.
Man should be at 155.
So, but he's got some options. Yeah. There's some options.
For me is Cowboy, but yeah, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Nate Diaz. And then after that, just, I guess, whatever's available. All right, we have time for one more?
We have time, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Darren Till, but, overall in the big picture, let's talk about, prospects in MMA.
Hey, Luke, Thomas, Danny Segura, what's going on, man? This is Derek from Vallejo, California. I don't know how many black listeners y'all got, but we are out here, bro. Check it out with the Darren Till loss, the back-to-back losses, actually. Do you guys think that, like, maybe fans and media kind of write off these young guys a little too quickly? I mean, we've seen it with the Bellator, Aaron Pico, who's only 22. He's taking back-to-back losses as well. Do you guys feel like maybe that they write them off too quickly? I feel like these guys have too much left in the tank for that to happen. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Great show.
Yeah, appreciate that. Shouts to all our African-American listeners. Danny, here's what I would say. We do write guys off too early. The problem is we also overhype them up front. And it's, dude, here's the thing. I have said this. I've made this point a number of times, if not on this show, my other one. Prospecting in sports is very difficult. I want you to consider something. The NFL Combine just happened, which is where they do all their physical measurables, some skill tests, right? And for our European listeners, you must understand this is America's most popular game by a wide margin. Look at the athleticism you see on display at the NFL Combine. It will take your breath away. DK Metcalf at 6'4", 240, running a 4.3 40-yard dash is incomprehensibly athletic, okay? That's where all of our best, not all, but many of our best athletes often end up. So they have the Combine. You have 3, often 4 years of tape to watch these guys as they grow at Division I colleges. Then you have your interviews. Then you have the draft, okay? Even then, these billion-dollar organizations, all the teams are basically worth $1 billion or more. They get it wrong constantly. Even with all that information, they make bad calls about who's going to be good and who's not. You've got NFL All-Pros who went undrafted. You've got first-round drafts that are out of the league in a year or two. They get it badly all the time. So it's not just MMA media that does this, Danny, but I really believe this. Trying to figure out who's good is hard. You get your LeBron James who comes along. Okay, it's pretty easy to tell he's good. Or a Habib or a John Jones or whoever. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the guys who are just less than that. Dude, there was a while there. You know how stupid I am? There was a while there I was like, well, Conor, I didn't know. I legitimately didn't know. I was like, we'll see how good he is. But Joseph Duffy, that's the guy that's going to be really the main fighter out of Ireland. And he is a good fighter. But when we talk about what their upside was, it was totally wrong. It's difficult, dude. It's really, really difficult. So just have a measured approach. Again, let's see what he does in his next step. If he goes up a weight class, who he fights. But it would be very foolish to slam the door on him. It's also foolish to build guys up before they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we definitely can't, write them off. We've seen guys, like Demetrius Johnson that for a while in their career, they were just a very good fighter, but that was just about it. That's as much as people had it, that was the perception out there. And then all of a sudden he turned into what, you can make an argument he's one of the greatest fighters ever. Same thing with Anderson Silva. He experienced several losses early and, he was a good fighter in pride, but he was never crazy good. And then later in his career, that's when he became who he is now. But I would like to say, although the media does sometimes, write people off like fairly quick, there's also guys that we know that come in and that person has it. For example, like a George St. Pierre, dude. The dude only lost twice his entire career. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. John Jones, technically, he's never lost his entire career.
No, technically, he has. You mean?
I'm saying, yeah, in reality, he's never lost. I mean, he lost against Matt Hamill, but, I mean, who considers that a loss? Daniel Cormier, the only person who he's lost to is John Jones. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that pool is very small. And I would say that, although I don't want to discard Darren Till just yet, but his chances of entering that pool, given what we've seen so far, they do decrease a little bit, right?
No, they do.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you lose back-to-back. That's what most of these elite guys don't do.
Exactly.
You lose to the champion and then, a guy who has been off for a while and they had 2 straight losses. Yeah, dude, there's some real recalibration. But again, the one thing I would say is, and again, he was also competing in the wrong weight class in a different way. But Demetrius Johnson, he didn't come in setting the world ablaze. People thought he lost to Miguel Torres. And then he turned to be like the best fighter ever. So am I saying that Darren Till can rebound and be the next St. Pierre? All right, maybe that seems a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
But can he come back and make something great of himself? You bet your ass he can.
Yeah.
And he'd be very I don't know that he will, but do I think he can? Yeah, of course, man. The guy is very, very skilled. He just has some issues.
He's just 26, man.
Dude, 26. You know what I was doing when I was 26? Crying in parking lots somewhere, drinking cheap wine. This dude's out here lost to Jorge Masvidal. All right, man. It must be devastating, but chin up, dude. You are well ahead of the curve. Well ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So, something I would like to say is I hope for Darren Till's career, I hope that, he does take a step back and kind of doesn't rush things, because I kind of felt like he was rushing things with his career. And I think something this weekend, Mark Diaz said in one of the post-fight scrums, you can watch that on MMAFighting.com.
Who fought Joe Duffy, right?
Exactly, yeah. He beat Joe Duffy.
Yeah,
he said, he even thought about asking the UFC to release him, because he's like, I'm so young. Like, I'm clearly developing. It might be even better for my career to develop my skills outside of the UFC and then, come back in ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not suggesting that Darren Till should ask for his release, but, maybe don't fight the top 5 for now,